Welcome to another episode of Ringwalk Boxing Podcast. Today we will be discussing Gervonta Tank Davis, the blessing and the curse in Baltimore, and much more pertaining to boxing. Stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Ringwalk Boxing Podcast. I am Bean, and I want to welcome you to another episode on a beautiful day. I'm out here chilling outside, 60 degrees in Cincinnati, Ohio, y'all, in December. Yes, you heard it right. So I know this is a boxing podcast, but shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals over here in America, because over here we love our NFL football. To my people outside of America, we're really big into football, and unfortunately, we took a loss yesterday. But the weekend prior, me and my homeboy were able to go to the actual game downtown and witness a victory. So shout out to the Bengals again. Okay, so jumping into boxing, I got a lot to discuss, a lot to break down. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Gervonta Tank Davis. For those who don't know, I was looking up some things about him yesterday because I'm very proud of what I was seeing on IG and different things. And, I saluted, Tank on a job well done, because basically he was giving back to Baltimore, where he's from. And I want to say it was the west side of Baltimore, to be specific. So what he did was he invested in, he bought a block in Baltimore to rehab the abandoned buildings for affordable living for people. He has a construction team and everything. And he was blessing the city of Baltimore in that block to renovate for people to live. Now, the reason why I called it the blessing and the curse was, it was a blessing for him to do that and show his love to the people. The curse was, like a 24-hour period later, an arson set fire to the building. Why would somebody do something so distasteful and that hateful? This man is trying to do something great from his heart, from his hood, and come back. When a lot of people leave cities, they don't even think about where they came from. They leave, and that's in the rearview mirror, but they don't really come back that often. He actually came back to Baltimore to buy a block, said his speech. He was very happy, him and his trainer, Calvin Ford. And then about 24 hours later, the building gets set ablaze. I know he probably had insurance, which is good. But still, it's the principle, the evilness that people can really have. And you got haters out here. So prayers out to Tank Davis and prayers out to Baltimore. Okay, so I'm going to also jump into Deontay Wilder and his career. He has a huge following, of course. Me personally, I've always respected the fact that he has a right-hand cannon. He only needs one punch. But I always wanted for him was to be a well-rounded, skillful boxer all around. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in the era of, after Mike Tyson, the next big name was Evander Holyfield. And what I saw in Holyfield was not just a warrior who would go in the trenches against bigger opponents, but he was very skillful. Not only did he have power, he had actual fundamentals and skills. And Wilder, I don't see the fundamentals and skills. It was more or less just a person in there looking to land one big bomb on his opponent. So we'll delve into a little bit of the makings of Deontay Wilder. For those who don't know, Deontay Wilder, also known as the Bronze Bomber, was born in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or at least that's where he reps, in Alabama. So he's from down south here in the nation of America. And it's my understanding that he used to drive trucks before he was a boxer, maybe like a box truck. And unfortunately, his daughter had some type of condition called spinal bifida or something of that nature. And what he did was he got into the boxing thing to provide for his daughter. So off the top, respect to Deontay Wilder for knowing, being a father, that life was bigger than his own now that he had a daughter, and a daughter with special needs. So he became a boxer, and he did his thing, and he became a bronze medalist. So that's why he had the nickname the Bronze Bomber. Now, I do understand he didn't start boxing until the age of 21, just to kind of like the different things we go back and forth in the boxing group on FB. And shout out to everybody on the admin staff. Matt in New York, Matthew Brown, Robert Elmore, Bomb Squad, I know that's y'all guy. Cousin Phoenix, Bomb Squad, I know that's your guy. Kurt Lewis in Chicago, Bomb Squad, I know that's your guy. So my thing is this: I just want to kind of like cover everything from an overall basis and try to cover both ends of the spectrum. So hopefully I don't come off biased. And just so you know, I always make this podcast of mine an open playground. So I want opinions. I want debates. I want people who don't always agree with my way of thinking. So comment in the comment section below. So what I'm trying to say is, with Deontay Wilder, yes, he started boxing late at age 21. So that's always been something said pertaining to him starting late. I get that. But you're looking at the fact that he started at the age of 21. Yeah, it was a late start, but here he is 40 plus fights later, and he's at the age of 38. So from the age of 21 to 38, that's a lot of years you could be learning something as far as your basic and fundamentals of boxing. So although he started late, regardless, when he came in the door at the age of 21, he should have been sharpening his tools and learning how to box and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Not just rely on the right hand and power alone. And I think that was the argument, and that was probably the fallout between him and Mark Breland. Mark Breland used to box in his younger years, so he knew something about boxing. I'm not going to say that there were things that he didn't know himself. Of course, none of us know everything. But I felt like Mark Breland would have been the one to wanted him to be successful. And I think a lot of that tension that started happening probably behind the scenes or whatnot, from what Mark Breland had said in an old interview a few years ago, is that he met, I believe, JD's was brought in through either Wilder or Mark Breland. But Wilder allegedly made JD's the head guy of the training camp. So if that is true, I can't understand why that would happen and why they would put Mark Breland as a back seat, because he was the actual boxer and he knew the basic fundamentals, and he would have wanted Wilder to do the road work, the jump ropes, the calisthenics, the conditioning, the jogging, all the stuff, because even Wilder said back then he took a lot of shortcuts as far as training because he had that right hand power. And he even said in an old interview, with power like mine, you don't need skills. And that was the words of Deontay Wilder. Well, Mark Breland was trying to get him from that mentality and say, look, you got the power, and that's God-given. It's supernatural power. However, I want you to build your skills along with that power. And with that, I can see you being unstoppable. But it's from my understanding that Wilder just relied on his power. And then you had people, commentators, other boxing pundits, and people all saying all Wilder needs to do is land the right hand. So I think with people pushing that agenda and pushing that, he felt like that's all he ever needed. He didn't need to learn nothing else. So you know, let all these years go from the age of 21 up until your age of 38 now. That's a lot of years you could have been doing these basic fundamentals. Because Anthony Joshua started at the age of 18. And right now, I feel like he's pretty much at his peak, that he's at his best. Has some of the best trainers, very receptive to learning new things, going to the body, uppercuts, in-close fighting, mid-range fighting, long-range fighting, learning all the ring drill shit. I think the only thing he's lacking is the fact that I think AJ needs to have more head movement. He does bounce his legs, he does bend his knees, but he needs to move his head a little bit more. But his punch placement and precision is very acute. We saw that last night when he was facing the southpaw Otto Wallin from Sweden, who lives in New York, but by way of Sweden. Otto Wallin felt like he had a mental edge over AJ that he spoke about at the Day of Reckoning press conference. AJ didn't take that too lightly, and you can see the fire in him, and I think that fire has kind of started being reignited, although he was here in Texas in America with Derrick James for this Otto Wallin fight. He was training back home, I think at Finchley or one of the gyms over in UK with Ben Davison. He said he learned a lot from Ben Davison. Ben Davison spoke highly of AJ. He didn't go into it too deep, but he spoke very highly of Anthony Joshua. And the results showed for themselves at the main event last night. AJ went in there and slowly picked apart Otto Wallin with power punches, counter punches, left hooks, hooks to the body, straight punches to the body, to the core, midsection. And at the end of the round, the fight was stopped. I don't think it was Otto Wallin that wanted to stop, but I think his corner was trying to save him from himself. And they waved the fight off, and Anthony Joshua won by technical knockout. It was a very clinical performance. I do look forward to seeing what he does next and who he chooses. A lot of people say they would like to see Joshua versus Zhilei Zhang. They would like to see Joshua versus Filip Hrgovic. And if you recall, Filip Hrgovic and Zhilei Zhang, they had a big bang when they fought. Two big, tall giants. And if you ask my opinion, I felt like Zhilei Zhang edged that fight and won. But the fight was, the decision was given to Filip Hrgovic. So I want to say that Filip Hrgovic and AJ can fight for the IBF, I believe, at some point. But I'm not sure if that would be now or if that's going to be after the fact that Tyson Fury and Usyk step in the ring in February for Undisputed. So how do you call that Undisputed? Usyk versus Fury. Please, in the comment section, make sure you comment your predictions. Do you think Usyk has what it takes, enough skill, mental will, to beat the much bigger Tyson Fury? In my opinion, yes. In the opinion of the legends Holyfield and Hasim Rahman, Usyk has enough skills to beat Tyson Fury because he's swifter, he's faster. In my opinion, he's a mirror of Tyson Fury. So he's not the 6'9" Tyson Fury, but he's a shorter, maybe 6'4". So he's shorter and he's faster on his feet than Tyson Fury. So basically, anything that Tyson Fury can do, Usyk can mimic it with more speed. And I think speed would be the major factor in their fight. Another major factor, analyze and look well at all of Tyson Fury's fights when he's fighting smaller guys. And he was losing. And he needed to win. What did he do to Steve Cunningham? What did he do to the smaller Deontay Wilder? He eroded them and grinded them, being the bigger man, headlock them, lean on them, put all his weight on them to make their legs go away, and then he goes for his knockout. So Tyson Fury more or less grinds a fighter down with his weight. And then he goes in for the finish. With Ngannou, as we saw, he couldn't get that off because he had an MMA background. He was just as heavy as Tyson Fury. And he expected for those tactics to happen. So when Fury tried to do the reverse headlock on Ngannou, he knew how to twist up out of that. When Fury tried to lean and put his body weight on him, Ngannou was so strong, he was able to stand sturdy and brace himself. So, styles make fights or whatnot. And we all saw that Ngannou, of course, knocked down Tyson Fury in the fight, but Tyson Fury edged that fight. Once he realized he couldn't use his croc style to be aggressive and do like he did against Deontay Wilder, he started doing more of the Ben Davison style and went back on his back foot and just stuck his jab out and won the fight on points, on a slight points decision versus Ngannou. Okay, so I'm going to rewind it back to Deontay Wilder. Where does he go from here? Last night, which it was the daytime here in America, but over at Saudi Arabia, it was nighttime. So yesterday afternoon, we saw Deontay Wilder against Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker, a Samoan hailing out of New Zealand, which he's had a couple of fights that a lot of people didn't know about. He had like 2 or 3 fights prior to Wilder, even though he lost to Joe Joyce maybe 4 fights ago. He lost by being knocked out. But in that fight, he showed that he had a good chin. In this fight last night, he used head movement, going left to right. When he went in, he was very wary, but he was also trying to be first. He knew he was fighting somebody like Wilder who was dangerous. So he rolled the dice. He could have been more conservative and went on his back foot a lot more. But now he brought the fight to Wilder. And there's a few times he was able to get Wilder in that corner and just well on him with overhead rights. Now, when I felt that, when I saw those times that he did have Wilder in the corner, buzzed from an O-Ran, I think he should have calmed down. He was just going for broke, which I understood. He had him hurt. But he should have said, oh, hold on. This man's body is exposed. So instead of me keep swinging to the head, let me start chopping down his body. When he had him in the corner against the ropes, he should have went to the body. Left uppercut to the body. Left hook, right hook. Back and forth. And then come up with the uppercut. But, I guess when you're in the heat of the moment, you don't always think of everything in a war like that. But shouts out to Joseph Parker. He did the unthinkable. I didn't see him surviving 12 full rounds, which is, I believe, 36 minutes, and not being clipped with the right hand of Deontay Wilder. But he proved me and a lot of people wrong. But then you had a lot of people who said, hey, I'm looking at Deontay's resume. I'm looking at his skills, And a lot of that doesn't align with a top-notch fighter. Yeah, he did good for what it was. And shout out to Rob Elmore, who's a very respected Deontay Wilder fan, man. Shout out to you, bro, out there in Vegas, because you keep it 100, bro. And I respect that to the fullest. What you said last night was real. You know, you never said Wilder had the best resume, and you understood that he made it to the level he did, 10 title defenses or whatnot, with his right hand. I mean, pretty much. He didn't really do it with a lot of other fundamentals, you know, the lack thereof. So right now, I mean, he's at a crossroads. He's 38 years old, so yeah, you can't rewind time, and you let years go from the age of 21 to the age of 38. You can't rewind that back. So trying to learn basic fundamentals now, and it's like, I guess your best thing to do now is to fight these other top contenders. You got Andy Ruiz out here. You got Zhilei Zhang out here. You got Filip Hrgović out here. AJ acts like he still wants the Wilder fight, but I mean, if he does, I can see that being a narrative. Oh, well, AJ just wants him because he saw him lose, or AJ is fighting somebody who came off a loss. You know what I mean? So I think he's in a lose-lose situation. That I don't know that AJ should fight Wilder. I mean, obviously I want to see the fight, but it's like he can't win, you know. So let me know your opinions about that in the comments as well. Should AJ fight Deontay Wilder? And would AJ truly get credit for defeating Deontay Wilder? Now, you know, it's always been the narrative as well that only Tyson Fury could beat Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury is supposed to be number one, and Deontay Wilder was supposed to be number two. Well, if Deontay Wilder is number two got beat last night by Joseph Parker. And for those who don't really watch boxing that in depth, you wouldn't even know what Joseph Parker was unless you follow boxing. But yeah, Joseph Parker, who I believe only had 2 losses, Dillian White, Joe Joyce, he won last night on a 12-round decision. Unanimous. So let me know what you thought about Wilder versus Parker. Let me know what you feel about how you would rate Wilder's career and how you would rate his performance last night. Comment below. You know, folks, I need these comments because I want to know what y'all think so we can kind of, you know, we can debate different topics of that I'm talking about today. And everything I'm trying to convey right now. So we also had the fight on that same day of reckoning card, the light heavyweights hailing from Australia, Ja Opetaia. He took on Zorro. I didn't expect to see what I saw because I've been hearing about Ja Opetaia and how good he was. But I could see that he's a southpaw as well. So a lot of these southpaws I'm starting to see a little bit more of. And he's a very unique guy. He has good movement. He moves his feet well. He's in and out. He's bouncing around. And he kind of hit Zorro with a few shots just to measure him out or whatever. And before you know it, he caught him with a left hook, man, and knocked Zorro out. It happened so fast. I want to say that was the first round that the knockout came, and knocked him down. His head hit the canvas, which thankfully he was okay. But I'll be looking out more in the future on Ja Opetaia because I always hear about him from different sources in boxing groups, but especially to Levi over in Australia. You're always talking about Ja Opetaia. So shout out to you for letting me know about him, man. He's the real deal from what it looks like in the cruiserweight division. And then you had the light heavyweight, Dmitry Bivol, once again doing his thing. and putting on a clinical performance as he always does. He's like the bigger version of Devin Haney. He's very methodical. He's very scientific. And he picks apart his opponents to where their performance looks to be egregious because he's just that good. We just saw a lot of different great fights on this card. This was one of the biggest cards. And shout out to everybody in Saudi Arabia who helped team up with the top promoters like Frank Warren and other promoters, and of course Eddie Hearn and His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, and all the people on that committee in Saudi Arabia that made it happen. Man, that was the card of this year. It was perfect for the end of this year, before New Year's of 2024. It was a banger. And I can't leave out one of the best fights on the card was in the center. And that was Big Baby Miller versus Daniel Dynamite Dubois. There's been a lot of critics saying that when times get rough in the ring, that Daniel Dubois would take a knee or throw in the towel. Nah, we didn't see none of that yesterday. None of that at all. What I saw was a determined young man, age of 26. And he stood his ground with the much bigger Jarrell Miller, who was like 90 pounds heavier. I would think that Jarrell Miller should weigh about 280, 285 maybe. But he was like 333 pounds. That to me was like, when I heard that, I'm like, whoa, this ain't gonna go good. I don't see him having the stamina and the endurance to be able to go 12 rounds with a young lion like Daniel Dubois, who's only 26. And mind you, Jarrell Miller was he had no losses. He was undefeated. And basically every round almost looked the same. Jarrell Miller did land a couple of power shots that he was able to get off, and they were really good shots. But Daniel Dubois took them very well. So he has a better chin than what he's given credit for, I would say. And he threw a lot of combinations. He bounced on his feet. He moved from this side to that side. Every time that Miller tried to get him against the ropes, he would always, circle his way back out and get back to the center of that ring. And he would just pop. I mean, 3 and 4 punch combinations with power. And Big Baby Miller would just walk in, kept coming in until the last round, and down to 11 seconds of the last round, the ref decided to wave it off. 11 seconds left. Miller was on the ropes, and Daniel Dubois literally threw the kitchen sink at Big Baby Miller. Oh, man. Hey, it was a banger. Everything on that card was a banger. If you didn't watch it, get on YouTube, run it back. It was something to see. If you're a boxing fan, no matter where you are, and like I said, definitely comment below, hit the like, peace and love, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.